Welcome everybody, I'm Frank Sellam, the Managing Director of Vital Plus, and I'm glad you're here to join me because I'm here to speak with the wonderful Stefanie Milla, who is the Director of ABIC, and I hope you can join us because she's a wealth of knowledge, and one little idea from Stefanie can turn around your business, can propel you in a different direction, can give you inspiration, and we all need something, some support always. So join us if you can every month or just about every month when I speak to Stefanie and I dig into her little brain, or her big brain, I should say, and discuss some of the things that are happening in the beauty industry. So welcome everybody. I'll start with you, Stefanie. It's been a little over a month that we last talked. How have you been? What's been happening at ABIC? I know you've been extremely busy. Just give me a little bit of a rundown.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for that incredibly auspicious introduction. I blushed. I was blushing. I don't know how to do that, but thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here, Frank, and also to the Vital Plus family. But yes, Frank, it's certainly been an action-packed few months for myself and the team at ABIC. Yeah. It's actually a really exciting time because we are in the initial trial process of launching ABIC certification, which will be launched in the second half of this year. And ABIC certification is actually a national program. It's the first of its kind that actually recognizes and formally credits the high standards employed in the beauty and aesthetic industry. And this certification actually validates that business, both to the industry and also the public, is operating within the highest standards of safety, staff qualifications, expertise, training and ongoing professional development, employment standards, treatment standards, and also operating in a legal and responsible way. So it's been wonderful connecting with the ABIC members that are going through the certification process with us, the trial, and we're just so super excited about launching. But also, we've got our first Beauté by ABIC journal coming out in early May, which has just been like a wonderful and new experience for our team, because we've the first time delving into bringing out a journal of this caliber. And of course, all things government, skills and training, and there's some big changes happening there, which we will tell everybody in the industry about very shortly. But we're also coming up with strategies and training for the industry to overcome and be best prepared for the impacts of inflation on their business and also their clientele. So yes, we've been very busy indeed.
Wow, that's amazing. And I guess that, you know, getting accredited is great for your business if you're a beauty salon owner, to have that certificate on the wall. I guess it's a certificate, and you know that your clients can go there with confidence that they're getting a professional service, all the safety measures, all the government rules are being applied. Is that right?
That's exactly right. And it's nationally recognized. So the standards are all across Australia, and they're the same benchmark standards. So we've gone to consult with industry experts in our field to actually compile these list of standards. So when we are teaching these standards and are making sure that each salon and clinic adheres to these standards, you can be sure that if you walk into any ABIC certified clinic across Australia, that you're getting that same level of high standards. So it's something really great for the public as well, to be able to recognize and pick, right, that's a really safe and ethical place to go. But it's also really good if you want to increase your profile in the industry as well.
Yeah, I can just imagine, I'm just saying, Gay Wardle would have probably loved to start to put a few bullet points on the do's and the don'ts. She's amazing. Oh,
she's incredible.
Okay, well, that's great. That's definitely something that all beauty salons should be aware, and we'll do our best to share, you know, to incentivize our salons to go ahead and do the the exam? Is it like an exam? Is it
It's actually a process
course?
where it's a process whereby our facilitators spend a couple of hours over the course of 2 or 3 sessions with the business to make sure, go through all of their processes and procedures, go through their training and all of that, and then do like a clinic walkthrough just to make sure that we know that their business is operating to our standards. And if there's any area that needs, I suppose, enhancement or advancement, we're actually able to help them do that through our resources.
Right.
So even if you feel like you're a clinic and you're not quite there yet, through the process, we get you there, if that makes sense.
No, that's great. That's fantastic. Well done. Congratulations on creating something that raises the level. And like the tide, once they all start going, everybody has to bring up their game, and I think that's definitely something we need in the industry. So thank you for being.
It's actually the first step that we're taking towards self-regulation in the industry. It's the first major step towards that, to provide these benchmark standards, and then we springboard off that into self-regulation again in the second half of the year.
Wow. Wonderful. Tell me, what are some of the business opportunities, the best business opportunities that are going on at the moment, and also what are some of the threats, the things that we should be aware of?
That's a really good question, Frank. In terms of threats, there are a couple of major ones at the moment. First of which is actually the skills shortage. So businesses are finding it extremely difficult to hire and also retain experienced staff. And we all know the impacts that's having on our industry and also our businesses.
Right.
That's been one that's been around for a little while. But another significant threat that's coming up is actually inflation. The announcement was around about 5.1% of inflation, but really in reality, costs have actually already risen by that much, if not more. And so for the past 2 years, actual inflation has technically been on hold. And even though we've seen price rises in just about every single industry, basically, essentially now the floodgates are open on inflation and a correction is now happening. And what that's actually going to mean for businesses is that the real life costs of running a business are actually predicted to rise by 15%. So if you can look at that, I mean, in most cases, that's your whole profit margin gone. So realistically, most businesses now, especially in this industry, they just can't absorb this type of this type of increase. And they're going to really have to look at their pricing structures and really increase them accordingly. And sort of here's where the opportunities are. If you're aware of this, you can actually react quickly. You can look at your offering, your target market, your prices and your break-even point, and you can sit down and recalculate what does it look like doing business in the face of such a dramatic increase in costs. How can I pivot my business so that I have higher margins? Where can I look to find more cost-effective alternatives for my expenses? And, for example, now, if your lease is expiring or coming up, now is the time to talk to your landlord about renegotiating. And this is where ABIC can really help. If you're a member, you can actually call up and ask us for guidance and advice. And we have so many resources to be able to help you through this adjustment period. And in addition, we've actually got a huge support network of industry leaders to be able to help you to navigate the really complex economic landscape that we're actually heading into.
That is so interesting and so important to look at. So if I have a facial treatment that is $100, I should reconsider the costs behind and maybe consider putting it up to $115, $110. I'm sure that the clients won't go, oh, I'm never coming back here again. They'll totally understand, and it'll keep you afloat. It'll keep you going.
Well, there's ways to do it. You don't necessarily need to raise your prices by the 15%. What you can do is you can do a deep dive into your business and look at your expenses. If you can pull your expenses down 5%, if you can lift your profit, your prices by 5%, if you can go in and look at things like, for example, just recently I switched over to a company called Smart Pay for my, so I have two clinics for my FPOS bills. So essentially by moving over to a new FPOS system where you on charge that $1 to the client instead of absorbing the FPOS fees, I can save myself $15,000 in a year. So there are things you can do to spread out the costs so that you're not actually lifting your prices so much. So it's not as jarring to clients. You can also reposition a little bit your offering and start promoting treatments that have a higher margin. Think about the add-ons. What do you typically add on to this? Do you even add on to a treatment when they're in the treatment room? You know, do you have an LED that you can just say, look, you know, this is an extra $50, let's put you under the LED today? That you've just got to get smarter about how you operate your business. And now is the time to sit down and do a reevaluation, because realistically inflation gets announced, it happens in one day. In one day prices go up. And we're not flexible enough to be able to absorb that price increase day one. So if you look at your business now, transform it a little bit. You need to spend a little bit of time on your business, because essentially what you don't want is to be trading for a quarter, for half a year, or even a fiscal year, and at the end of the year realize that you've been trading insolvent because your profit margin has been completely absorbed.
Right. What does this inflation mean in relation to salaries for the beauty therapist?
Yes, the average salon. Well, there's a few ways. You know, costs of shipping and transport are actually elevated at the moment, and so that's driving all of the costs of manufacture up. So obviously they're passing on these cost increase to us, and as we all know, manufacturers don't hold back and suppliers in passing on those costs a lot of the time, but a lot of the time as salon owners, we absorb those costs and we don't pass them on to the client, because at the end of the day, the philosophy goes, business can handle that small increase, but then our clients can't, because they're the ones coming in for the service and they're the ones sort of living on a wage. You know, it's going to affect it in many different ways. It will mean that customer confidence is going to be down, because things are going to be increasing. Like, for example, the cost of a cup of coffee will go from, you know, $4 to $7. We're going to see a $7 or $8 cup of coffee, believe it or not. That will happen. And that's going to ripple effect through to our businesses, because people that have discretionary spending, that will start to deplete. Their savings, their household savings will start to deplete because the cost of living goes up. In real time, wages are not going up as fast as inflation. So you're seeing this lull, this kind of imbalance between people's wages and then the cost of living rising. And that's where they just don't have enough money to come and spend the way that they usually do. And speaking of wages, that's another thing that our businesses are going to have to think about. You know, wages are increasing, and that forms part of that 15% that I was talking about. You know, in real life, you talk about inflation, but you're not considering things like wage increases, transport cost increases, fuel increases. There's so much to consider. So that's really why businesses right now need to be on the front foot, start thinking about what does that mean to my business? How can I pivot my business? How can I ensure that I stay profitable? And really look and analyze your profit every month. Don't wait until the end of the quarter, the end of the year to look back and see what went wrong, because that sometimes is too late.
Oh, that's so interesting, and I can see how beauty therapists would really need the support of ABIC, because I know a lot of beauty therapists, and they're you know, lovely hands-on women, but you know, when you ask them to look at the books and start looking at profit margins and all of that, it's a bit of a challenge for them. So, you know, to have someone in an organization that can really sort of take you through what needs to be done and how to go about it, I think would be a real a great thing to do, and something that they should consider definitely. So thank you for that. So what are the opportunities?
Yeah, so the opportunities here are really looking at your menu. What can you do to select and package up treatments that have a higher margin in them? So you really need to look at your menu, because what happens is your clients are going to come in because they still want to spend in our industry. What they're going to typically do is they're going to go for your lower price treatments. That's what happens most of the time. They'll go and they'll say, look, I'll still spend, but I'm going to do that $19, that $29 treatment. And those are typically your loss leaders, right? So those are the ones you either don't have margin on or you have very little margin on.
Yeah.
So what you're going to see is an increase in those cheaper type treatments, people buying those, and a decrease in your higher margin treatments. So I suppose what you need to do is look at how can I package my higher price treatments up with my loss leaders. And it's a loss leader anyway, right? So maybe thinking about things like throwing in a loss leader for free in the bigger, higher margin. You're going to lose on that loss leader anyway. It's going to entice them to upsell to something that does have a margin. And typically, if you do them on the same day, sometimes your treatment that's a standalone that's $29 or whatever, it takes you 20 minutes to do. By the time they come in, the client comes in, lies on the bed, you introduce them to your clinic, you give them, let them use the facilities and everything. That always ends up being longer. So if you can package things together and get your client to do more in that one sitting, it's actually going to cost you less. So those types of things are the opportunities. But if you really want to deep dive into that, you can always call, I would say just join us, call ABIC, rely on us, because we have so many resources. I mean, we could talk about this forever, but if you're a member and you're a clinic and you call up and you need to brainstorm and you need some ideas, we will actually help you to find the right ones for you and your business so that you can, survive, but also thrive. It's going to be a tough couple of years coming up, I think, with this correction.
And the proof, I guess, is how big you've grown, how quickly, and how many members have thought, oh, we need this kind of help. Is that right?
So many members. I mean, we haven't even been. It's our 1 year birthday in June. Can you believe that? It's 1 year. And even though I always say that old adage. You underestimate what you can do in 10 years, but overestimate what you can do in 1 year. I think we've had like 10 years worth of progress in that 1 year. If I look back at all the things that our industry has achieved together, we have just come leaps and bounds in this 1 year. But joining us means that you've got a support network of industry leaders that are actually here they dedicate their time for free. They volunteer because they want this industry to succeed. The industry leaders recognize that we're in some choppy waters and that we all need to come together to be able to actually overcome what's happening and keep businesses in our industry alive and afloat.
Well, thank you very much. It's been amazing to listen to you, Stefanie. Your insight is really very informative for a business owner in the beauty salon. If you're not already a part of ABIC, it's very easy to just go online and log in or just type in the URL.
It's www.theabic.org.au.
We'll have it on the screen, I think. And you can also call directly. That's even better because you'll just speak to a real person on 1-800-692-242, 692-242. So don't hesitate. Ask them how you can join and all the benefits that you can get. And thank you again for a wonderful little discussion about what's happening, the inflation and the things that you should start looking at, and the opportunities that are also there. So it's always great. I can't wait to talk to you and pick your brain again next month. So tune in for let's talk shop with Stefanie, and take care.
Thank you, Frank. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you, and also the Vital Plus family.
Thank you very much.